Now, one thing that might derail that a little bit in the NFC Championship is Deebo Samuel not playing.
Mm-hmm.
It's 50-50 is what we've heard. Now, we're going to know more tomorrow.
Yeah.
There's no break in the shoulder, but I believe it is the same shoulder, and it comes down to pain tolerance. I don't want to speculate on whether he plays or not because we just don't know yet. But if he doesn't play, right? If he doesn't play, how do you think that impacts the 49ers? And do you expect that the 49ers still overcome this and win the NFC Championship?
I will speculate he's absolutely going to play. I'll say that. Okay, I will say that, Jesse. I'm sorry, man, but he's going.
I think he's going to play too. I think he's going to play too.
Yeah, he's going to play. So, Kyle Shanahan is slow playing this thing, right? Like, why say Deebo is going to play now if you don't need to,
fair.
Right?
No, it's fair. It's totally fair. Totally fair.
Nothing's broken. From what I've understand, it's pain. They have medicine for that. Deebo's not going to sit out the NFC Championship game because of pain. They're going to inject him with whatever they need to inject him with. He's going to be out there playing in the game. Now, if for some reason he's unable to play, that definitely changes the game. If they knew for sure he wasn't going to be able to play, they shouldn't, or if there's any chance of it, they should plan and script this coming game with that expectation, because we saw what happens when Kyle Shanahan expects Deebo to play and he doesn't. At minimum, Deebo should be a decoy in this game. At minimum, he should be a decoy out on the field. Deebo is absolutely going to play. Mark my words, Deebo Samuel will play this coming week. But, whether or not he's the main focal point because he's nursing that injury or not, I don't know. But he will be a decoy at minimum.
Well, I mean, you got Chauncey Gardner-Johnson on the other side, and they had some good fun week 6 and 7. So I'm looking forward to see that matchup as well. That's a fun one for me. That reminds me of like Aqib Talib and Michael Crabtree. I don't know if it'll get to like snatch your chain type of situation mid-game, but it's definitely one of those things that these guys have been chirping back and forth. And this is the unfortunate thing is even if Deebo's out there and he's not 100%, he might just be a decoy. But Deebo in these games where he's facing somebody who he has a little bit of heat with.
What's the record? What is the record of teams? What's the record? When people talk crap about Deebo, what's the record against those guys next time they meet? I don't think he's lost. Like every time someone talks trash about the 49ers or Deebo, and then they play the Niners and Deebo, they get their ass kicked. So
and Deebo balls. That's the most important thing is Deebo, whether they win or lose, Deebo does everything he can to win those games. And he absolutely comes through in those games. So if he was fully healthy, I would expect a huge game from him. I'm not necessarily expecting that. I do think he will play, but what I actually want to talk about is what you kind of glossed over there. And I think is the most important aspect of this is game plan as if he's not going to be there, because here's what I can see happening. I can see him playing and I can see a scenario where he gets hurt and has to leave the game and isn't able to finish it. And if that happens, you can't have a scenario where you're running Jawan Jennings to start the second half. That can't happen. So game plan as if he's not there. And if he's there, great. You can use that. And also if he is hurt, even if he is able to play, you're probably not going to want to run him between the tackles. I don't think that's ideal for a guy with a hurt shoulder who's going to have to play below his pads and meet linebackers head on. So for me, I think that's the absolute right thing to do. Game plan is if he's not there, and if he's there, it's all gravy. But if you lose him, not a big deal either.
Can I say something a little bit controversial and maybe irresponsible real quick?
This has nothing. You got to remember this on my platform too.
This has nothing to do with Jesse. It's not his opinion. But Deebo sometimes reminds me of the boy who cried wolf a little bit. He's always down and then he's always fine. I know. Like, look, maybe it's because he runs more physical and tough than everyone else. Maybe it's the opposite. Maybe because he is so physical and he's so tough that he always puts himself in these situations where he's get injured. But I have noticed he goes down a lot and then he's fine. He goes back in. So I don't know if this is he's tougher than everyone else because he's able to do that and bounce back from these injuries. I don't know, but I have noticed that, and I do want to say it again. It's my opinion, not Jesse's. My observation, not my opinion, just an observation I've made.
Well, listen, I know how these things run wild when these opinions come out. Somehow I became the guy that said dink and dunk on Twitter, which didn't happen. But yeah, I did, I guess. So I want to make it clear. I do not endorse the opinion of Ryan G. Hensley when it comes to this. I actually, here's what I will say. He does get nicked up a lot. I think there are times where Deebo will play hurt a little bit because he's tired, because he just got the ball on a physical tough run, and he's like, you know what, man, I just need a breather. And so I'm going to lay here for a second, and I've got a little bit of a cramp or whatever, and I'm going to take this one and sit this one out. Then I'll sit out the next play and I'll be good to go. I definitely could kind of see where you're coming from on that. But I think Deebo, to me, one thing I want to make clear, and I don't think you're necessarily doing this either. Maybe you are, and you can clarify, but I'm not going to question his toughness. I think if he's
that's
if
not
he's
what I'm
able
saying.
to play at all, he'll definitely play in this game.
Again, I think it could be a symptom of his toughness, actually, because he's playing so physical, and sometimes I feel like Deebo just needs to go down. Honestly, like, I know that that's what we love about him, is that he runs through all these tackles, but there's times where it's like, dude, just go down at this point. You got like 5 dudes holding you up. You're not going to go through it. And I remember he got injured last year. I forget what game it was. Maybe it was against the Rams, where he was obviously, dude, you're not going to go anywhere. And he kept pushing, kept fighting, and he hurt his ankle, I believe, in that game. So, yeah, I mean, again, it's just he always seems to be banged up. He's a banged up player on the 49ers over the last 2 years. And so I don't know what it is. I don't know if he's playing through injury or he's trying to stay up for too long. I don't know what it is, but I always notice he goes down and then he pops back in. Maybe it's really a symptom of his toughness is what it is.
Yeah, I think him, George Kittle, both, even CMC to a certain extent, there are times where it's like, dude, just go down. Like Deebo, this play will always stand out to me. It was the Arizona game, week 5, a couple years ago. He gets thrown a little crosser, and clearly he's got nowhere to go. He should just walk out of bounds. And he gets to the sideline and then looks at the corner in front of him and just pop shots him and then walks out of bounds. And it was like, so unnecessary, so unnecessary. And you're going to get hurt if you're constantly doing those things, but that's who he is, you know? And so there's the fine line of players and what makes them special. And how do you dial that in without stripping them of that completely? Those are the hard conversations to really have. And Deebo Samuel is one of those guys where it's like, man, that's who he is. What do you do? What do you do? All right. James says, no, I meant finally we got a real top quarterback. Okay, he's clarifying a super chat from earlier. Flav says, in a vacuum or starting a team, of course you would take other dudes over Brock. But for this team and in this system, assuming it's not raining, I think it's actually tough to be better than Brock was. I don't disagree with that. I think Brock played fantastic in this system with everything that it was, but that's not how you gauge quarterbacks. The quarterback conversation is just simply who's better. And the way you do that is
watch.
It's no different than going to your local 24-hour fitness, YMCA, wherever you hoop, and picking your starting 5. You watch people play, you watch people warm up, and you take who you think is better. And if you're starting a team and you are picking players, that's who's better. Like, just who are you taking? I don't care about contract. I don't care about this system or that system or whether or not whether. I don't care. None of that stuff. Just who are you taking? It's a very straightforward question. And again, I've had this conversation in the past and I'll say it again. People really struggle to not say Brock Purdy is on the level of some of these guys. And so they make a lot of weird stipulations.